Now we'll present an abbreviated version of Dr. Alon Ben-Meir's presentation. As Professor Uranek told you earlier today, there was a health concern yesterday, so he wasn't able to come up to Boston today. So I will make the presentation, and then we'll follow up after that with Nina Gatsoulis and Leonidas Laptakis, and then the panel discussion. The title is Modernity and Civilization Offer No Shield Against Future Genocide. Now, I can't do this ad lib, I only got it yesterday. The phenomenon of genocide has baffled historians for many generations. The question that has been and continues to be asked is what goes through the minds of leaders, however despotic and ruthless, to conclude that committing genocide against their real or perceived enemies will provide them with salvation that only the extermination of other people would bring. And what does that say about us as human beings who have failed to adopt, quote-unquote, never again, sworn to in the wake of World War II as the mantra to guide us in preventing the occurrences of genocides? The various motives that prompted previous leaders to commit such large-scale genocides have not changed, as xenophobia, racism, discrimination, and intolerance remain very much a part of human society. Even a cursory review of what is happening around us at the present, from China to America, suggests that the roots of genocide have not been eradicated. Indeed, as long as we continue to see each other from the prism of a different religion, different color, different race, or different ideology, and blame others for our plight, the prospect of future genocides still looms high. The genocides that occurred over the past 110 years were motivated by different rationales, but led to similar horrifying consequences. Following the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, the Turks advocated for the formation of an exclusively Turkish Muslim state. The policy of Turkey for the Turks and rejection of any nationality that did not subscribe to Islam led to the decimation of nearly 2.5 million Pontic Greeks and Armenians. In Rwanda, genocide was perceived as the only way to break out of a historical cycle of discrimination and oppression of the Hutu majority by the Tutsi minority. The Germans believed that they belonged to a superior race, Aryan, while the Jews belonged to an inferior race that threatened to contaminate and pollute German society and culture. Methods of extermination. The states that perpetrated genocide, by and large, used similar methods to exterminate their enemies. Against the Pontic Greeks, the Ottomans employed massacres, death marches, summary expulsions, arbitrary executions, rape, and forced conscription into labor battalions. The Turkish policy of exterminating Armenians was carried out under a guise of deportation. Massacres were carried out through mass burnings. 80,000 Armenians in 90 villages were burned in stables and haylofts. Thousands were killed by drowning. Women and children would be placed onto boats that were capsized in the Black Sea. Turkish physicians also contributed to the planning and execution of the genocide. All in all, nearly 1.5 million Armenians were extinguished. In Germany, the extermination of the Jews, the final solution, quote unquote, began with mobile killing groups called Einsteingruppen. They gathered Jews from town to town, marched them to huge pits, stripped them, lined them up, and shot them with automatic weapons. Propaganda. Strong pan-Turkish and pan-Islamist propaganda began to appear in the Ottoman press in early August 1914, which alienated and intimidated non-Muslims. The Ottomans believed that the Christian Pontic Greeks were tainting the population and threatening the integrity of the Muslim-majority nation-state. Ottoman authorities created a propaganda campaign claiming that Armenians were a threat to national security, in part because of some Armenian support of Russia in the ongoing World War. Because most Turks were illiterate, anti-Armenian propaganda was primarily disseminated in the sermon of Muslim mullah and town criers who labeled Armenians as spies, infidels, and traitors. The promotion of Islamism was critical, as it was the central ideology behind the Armenian and Greek genocides. Measures to prevent future genocide. As we have witnessed, the concept of never again that was coined in the wake of the Holocaust and embraced as the mantra for future generations to prevent genocide failed to materialize. Acts of horrifying genocide occurred time and time again during the past 3 decades. What is necessary then, is to create awareness, especially among the young generation, about the horrors of genocide that human beings are capable of inflicting on others, and stop pretending that modernity and civilization provide a natural shield against future genocides. The fact that the current young generation is becoming increasingly less aware of genocides that occurred even 2 decades ago is extremely worrying. For example, less than 35% of Americans are aware there was an Armenian genocide. In Britain, 800 students from 15 schools were asked if they had any knowledge about genocides that occurred since the Holocaust. 81% could not name any modern genocide. Only 13% knew about the Rwandan genocide. 5% knew about the atrocities in Bosnia, Cambodia, and a mere 2% knew about the Darfur genocide. There are several measures that all nations ought to take to prevent future genocides, albeit not a single combination of such measures can ensure that genocide will never happen again. Nevertheless, we must remain vigilant and do whatever it takes to prevent mass killings. First, it is crucial the study of genocide in general be offered as a course in all middle and high school students should be required to take. There is no doubt that learning the history, psychology, motivation, the methodology used to effect mass executions is necessary step that would help prevent future genocide. In this regard, listening to the stories or experience of genocide survivors in the classroom setting is critical because unlike reading about genocide, which is vital, sharing the experience of what a survivor has endured, especially when describing the horrifying consequences, humanizes victims and leaves an indelible mark in the minds of the students. In addition, it is necessary to provide books, other printed material, and videos produced specifically for those age groups. Second, it is essential that communities hold symposiums and town hall meetings to discuss mass killings with speakers who have personally experienced or are noted authorities on the genocide. These should be held on the anniversaries of various genocides, coinciding with public awareness campaigns to ensure that these atrocities are remembered. Inviting the press to cover such events will remind people that we are living in a time when such atrocities can still happen and that each and every one of us must assume a role, however small. Third, acknowledging that mass murders have in fact occurred and taking certain measures to prevent it from happening again, such as the case with Germany, can go a long way to prevent history and repeat itself by creating a process of reconciliation to heal wounds. As such, we must not allow countries like Turkey, including its Ottoman predecessors, who committed unspeakable atrocities against the Greeks and Armenians in the wake of World War I, to deny its crimes against humanity with impunity. Even now, Turkey, under President Erdogan, refuses to acknowledge Turkey's historic crimes. Finally, in the age of unprecedented social media that allows us to reach millions of people in a few minutes, it should be fully utilized to create greater awareness about genocides. However controversial the use of social media may be, its overwhelming pervasiveness cannot be ignored, and its power must be used to create public awareness about the past genocide that will help prevent future gross violations of human rights. On the same note, companies like Facebook, whose platform was used to incite genocide in Myanmar, and Twitter, which was groundbreaking, used by ISIS to promote its ideology, must be held responsible and be proactive in removing content inciting hatred and violence. It is these types of gross human rights violations that are happening with impunity by the perpetrators, along with the ongoing genocides against Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar and Yazidis, Kurds, and Christians by ISIS, that raise serious questions about our ability to address such horrific crimes. We can, if we only will it, but we are still unwilling to rise and take whatever measures necessary to prevent such atrocities. What has changed? And what have we learned from previous genocides? Very little. As long as we put our short-sighted political interests above human lives, we prove we have learned little from history and are condemned to repeat it time and time again. We must hold up the mantra of never again and act before it's too late.